Getting from 0 to 1, if you're starting a business, the hardest customer you'll ever get is your first one, and then the second hardest one will be your second one. It's virtually impossible to get a first customer, because they're going to say to you, first of all, you're going to be selling to people who are basically conservative, and they're not going to be they're not going to be willing or able to evaluate whether your damn product is good for anything. And so they'll say, well, who are your other customers? And if your answer to that is, well, we don't have any, it's like, well, then what? They're going to be the first one. No. Because people don't stick their necks out at all, not a bit, ever. And so unless you're well established in the market, especially if you're dealing with a big company, you can just bloody well forget it. It's like a 3-year sales cycle anyways. It's because big corporations move very, very slowly. And you might be able to find a small company that doesn't have much money who would be willing to use your stupid product for nothing if you're really nice to them. And you can get one customer that way. It's very, very difficult. And so you'll end up, and what do you think the royalty, just out of curiosity? So I've written a book. It's going to be published by Penguin Random House in January. What do you think the royalty is for an author on a book? So you make something creative, you get a percentage of the sale. What do you think the percentage is? Just out of curiosity. Guess.
7.
Yeah, it's like 5%. So think about that. So that means that you make your thing and 95% of it belongs to someone else. And that's if things are going quite well for you. And it doesn't really matter what you manufacture or produce. That's about what you can expect. Sales, marketing, distribution, it eats it all up. So well, anyways, you need to know these things because they're not self-evident. Okay, so seems to be working all by itself. All right, so let's take a look. Well, how else can you have creative achievement? Well, you can be a musician. I have no training or recognized talent. Recordings of my composition have been sold publicly. That's the top end. My composition has been copyrighted, recorded, critiqued in a local publication. I have composed an original piece of music. Well, let's try this. How many of you have composed an original piece of music? Wow, there's lots of creative people in here. That's very impressive. So there must be 10 or 11 people in here. Oh, that's cool. So how about your composition has been copyrighted? How about the recordings have been sold publicly and actually sold? How many people? 2? 2. Okay. Well, so what you can see is there's a rapid drop-off in the number of people who say yes. How many of you fit into category 0? I have no training or recognized talent in this area. Yeah. Okay. 0 is the median score on all of these. Median is the score that's the most likely for people to have, right? It's different than the mean. Median score is 0. So what's the median score in the entire creative achievement questionnaire? 0. You add up over all 13 domains, the most typical score is 0. So that's how creative people are. They're 0 creative, not at all. Yes?
So it's not even necessarily that everybody has a certain degree of creativity, but for the most part, most people are not really creative at all.
Well, the thing is, you could say that all people are creative and that all people can generate ideas, but the issue isn't whether or not you can generate ideas, it's whether or not you can generate ideas that are different from the ideas that other people generate. That's the critical issue. Because, it depends on how you define it. Well, the novelty is a huge part of it, but that's sort of built into the definition of creative. It has to be novel and useful. And if your idea that you generate is the same as the idea that a bunch of other people have, it's not. It's an idea, fair enough. And if you define creativity that way, then everyone's creative. But it's a foolish way of defining creativity because everyone does it. And we know that there has to be something novel about creativity.
Useful ideas that say these categories all seem to be artistic as well as requiring specific non-creative skills. For example, music and dance require kind of mechanical motor skills.
Yeah.
Are there ways to be creative outside of the artistic domain?
Well, let's go through the rest of the domains because we did include domains that aren't artistic. And yes, there are. Engineering is a good example of that. Or writing nonfiction. Those things tend to tilt more in the intellect direction. But I'm concentrating most particularly here on the sort of creativity that would be associated with openness. So, yeah. Okay, so dance. Well, it's roughly the same as music, so we won't move forward into that. Architectural design. My architectural design has been recognized in a national publication. Creative writing. My work has been reviewed in national publications. Million books sold last year, 250 of them sold more than 100,000 copies. right? So that's another example of high risk, high return. So probably you won't write a book. If you write a book, probably no one will publish it. If you publish it, almost certainly no one will buy it. So you see what I mean? There's exclusion. The exclusion criteria there are they're so difficult because it's very difficult to write a book, even a bad one. You have to work a long time to write a bad book, and then your book has to be pretty damn good before you're going to get it published. And you also have to know how to go about getting it published. That's also, you don't send a book to a publisher, by the way. They don't want your stupid book. They want a summary of the book. They want an outline of the book. They want 3 chapters of the book. They want to know who the hell you are and why anyone should listen to you. They want to know what other books your book is like, and most importantly, perhaps, they want to know where it would sit in a bookshelf in a bookstore. And the reason for that is that, and I have trouble, this is trouble with the books that I write, is no one knows where to put them. That's a big problem, because then the marketing people don't know how to market them. And maybe that's because they're more creative than usual. It doesn't matter. If there isn't a place that you can put the book where people can find it, then you're not going to publish it, and even if you do, you can't sell it because no one can find it. So you just think about the difficulties in being a successful author. You're not going to write a book. It's too hard. There's no damn way you're going to get it published, and if you do, it probably won't be a very good publisher. Then they have to do a really good job of selling it and marketing it. Then you have to enter the market at the right time, right? And then you have to be reviewed by the right people, and then it has to be put in the right places. It's like what happens is your book will go out for a week, no one will buy it, and it'll disappear. And that's if you've done 99.99% of things right.